Misty, can you talked a little bit about how you did play multiple sports. Can you kind of just share a little bit more about what did that look like in your middle school and teenage years? When did you start focusing just on volleyball?
So I didn't primarily play volleyball until I signed on the dotted line. So I wish I could have played soccer in college, but it was a club sport at Long Beach State, and then it was the same season as volleyball. But in high school, I did track, volleyball, and soccer. And it wasn't until I started seeing some bad tackles being made at the high school level, then I pulled out of soccer at high school and just focused on club because you got the more experienced players at the club level. But once I signed my letter of intent, that tells me I'm obligated to your school to play volleyball. I can't risk an injury doing something else. But I did do track my freshman year. Our coach there were 3 players that did track. It was myself, Christy Kiroff, another great athlete, and then Taiba Hanif, who ended up playing on the Olympic team. I spent just 1 semester on the track team, and then it just got to be too much with studying, and I was dwindling down 9% body fat, which is a lot going back and forth. But at that point, then I just took my focus to volleyball. But my middle school, I was getting driven around from practice to practice. It's like I'd leave dance. I did dance, and then I'd have my soccer shoes in the car and go to soccer practice. And
when did you think though that volleyball could be the main sport for you? Or because like I played 3 sports, but like at some point you kind of realize like I'm pretty darn good at this.
Well, soccer, I had options to go to college as well. I just loved volleyball that much more. So it became more of like, what do I have a bigger passion in? And it was volleyball. I miss soccer, so I was hoping my kids would get involved in soccer, and the twins, they do play now. But that's what it was. It was that, what do I love that much more? My dad was a 68 Olympian in Mexico City, so I always heard his stories and saw pictures of him on the national team. But I wanted to be a veterinarian. I just never thought, oh yeah, that's nice, you went to the Olympics. Probably like how my kids with Matt and I are like, oh, that's nice, Dad, you played there. Or, oh, that's nice, you went. You don't fully understand the concept until later. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of college that I thought I could make a national team. But I thought I'd be playing indoor, not beach, because beach didn't enter the Olympics until 1996. So I grew up like USA Baseball, doing the junior teams, jumping to A2, playing national team. So I was in that system. They didn't have much of a system for beach. Now they do. Now they have high performance. They've got under 21s, all these different levels for beach to help train the kids. And they even offer it in college now. But I didn't see myself being an Olympian until sophomore year in college. But even then, when I went to Long Beach State, I was recruited as an outside hitter. I'm 5'8.5". You wouldn't find a 5'8.5" hitter on an Olympic team or national team now. But back then, yes. But I knew I had to make a positional change in order to further my international volleyball career. So I ended up learning the game of setting. I had not set, learned everything I did from Debbie Green, my college coach. So freshman year going in, I practiced by myself for 2 weeks, no ball, just learning the position. So I had to make that positional change.
Misty, let's go back a little bit further. Like, obviously you're a tremendous athlete. At what age did you realize, hey, I'm pretty good. I'm a pretty good athlete. Like, I'm like better than the kids I'm playing with on the playground, or I'm better than the kids playing soccer with at 5 years old. Like, at what age did you go, wow, I'm better than a lot of my friends at this sport?
It's funny because I grew up, probably had a ball in my hand before I could walk. The balloon was my first volleyball. My mom was a tennis player, so I had racket in hand when I was little. It's just something I didn't catch on to, but everybody else on that side did. So I was always at the beach in Santa Monica. My parents owned a pizza stand down there, so any off time, we're down at Santa Monica Pier. My daughter's 8 now, and I tell her, even when she was in kindergarten, if you can play with the boys, play with the boy, and I think it was in kindergarten, because we'd have races in the playground and I'd be one of the and I'd always be playing with the playing with the boys. Soccer, I just gravitated towards them because most of them were so active. And so I want to say kindergarten is, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to be a tremendous athlete, but I was like, oh, I can keep up. And it gave me certain goals and people to try to tag and catch. And so I think it was, kindergarten that I felt like, wow, I could, I'm pretty quick or pretty coordinated.
So let me ask this. You talked about that you were in the system, even though you played a bunch of sports, you were in the system from a volleyball standpoint. You played on, national teams and so on and so forth. You're obviously super well known for, having skills at almost every position needed. And that's, I'm sure, why your beach career was so awesome. How as a teenager playing a whole bunch of sports, how did you develop that skill level to be able to compete? I'm sure some of the people you competed with were just playing volleyball, and I'm sure you're a freak athlete, but even freak athletes have to develop the skills. So training wise, what did you do to develop those skills?
We didn't have private lessons. There was nothing known as private lessons back when we played. It was, you got your training in high school and then you went to club, and off season, you'd be down at the beach. You didn't have a foursome you played with like now. It I don't want to say very cliquish, but everybody sets their, okay, we need these four at the beach in order to practice. It's like, if you were by yourself, you found a way to be creative, to do drills on your own. If you had a backboard, you're passing against the backboard, you're serving against the backboard. It obviously helped with my dad being a volleyball player, and actually my mom too, because I always had somebody helping me with drills if I needed him to. But he grew up in the era, and I think this is being lost in sports, probably most sports, I won't say all the sports, but that everybody's only working on one skill, or they're put in one position. And when we played, and how I grew up with my dad coaching me, is I had to learn all the skills. I had to learn every position, because you never know what team you're on. You're going to be called upon. It could be one play, you got stuck somewhere. It could be a coach needs you to play a certain position. Somebody got hurt, that you need to know how to fill that void. But now a lot of players aren't being taught the all-around game. Middles are getting taken out in the back row. They're not taught to serve. We didn't have liberos like they do now. So our middles in college had to play defense. They had to learn how to pass. They had to learn how to set. And so that's stuff that I feel is being taken away from the kids, that the players back in the day had great all-around skills, because we had to. You just never knew where you're going to end up. And it's same with baseball. It's like, I'm hearing a lot, our neighbors and kids, they're only playing one position. I'm like, well, what happens if this first baseman goes out? Do you know what to do? And, the
answer is no.
They're like lost.
I mean, that's why we start a lot.
So yes, I mean, you still need to introduce the stuff to the kids, but at some point, yeah, they're going to pinpoint one area they work on, but you still introduce all the skills, and try to develop all the skills.
You talked about, Misty, your mom and dad, and, having the pizza place by the pier, and you go down. Did they push you? Did they more let you kind of fall in love with the sport? I know they were both athletes too. How did that dynamic work?
I've always been very thankful. They never pushed me into one sport. My mom came from a tennis family. My grandparents had to pay me to go practice tennis. They were like, we'll give you 5 cents if you go hit it every time you hit it against the backboard. So obviously you could see the passion for that kind of wasn't there. Volleyball, nobody had to tell me to grab a ball and just go outside. We lived in a small apartment. Even for soccer, it was like, done with homework, it was like, I'm outside and I'm volleying the ball, against the carport. So right there, that showed me that's just something I gravitated towards those sports. But no, my mom, even in some articles and interviews, would say if I played tiddlywinks and I was out of trouble, she was fine with that. And so that's kind of what we're doing with our daughters is we introduce them to things and you kind of know right away, do they like it? Do they not? And as long as they're having fun, they're enjoying it. They're excited to go to practice and they're staying out of trouble. You know, that's all we can ask for.